it's interesting because Bobby Silverstein, who was the architect of disability policy at the federal level, who essentially wrote the Americans with Disabilities Act, when he talks about choice and integrated employment, what he says, and I believe fully in this, is that we have a priority, a presumption, and a preference for integrated employment, which is employment in the community, in a regular, not an employer that's set up just to serve people with disabilities. We have a priority, preference, and a presumption. Well, that means that there are other choices that people can make. It's a priority, preference, and a presumption, but it's not exclusive. So we want to try to move people towards integrated employment to the maximum extent possible, and those that choose or for other reasons need to remain in center-based employment should be allowed to do so.
Rob, another thing I've thought about, maybe for a program, but whenever I hear these discussions about community employment, I think about what a challenge that must be. I don't know what people like Barb face, and especially in the area where there's 8% unemployment out there. It would be nice to have a program. What are the challenges of getting people out there in community employment? How hard is it? I mean, it's got to be hard, but I would look at it.
Well, we have to remember that Opportunities Incorporated was one of the first organizations. That was my first job here. When I was out of college, we were one of the first organizations that started support employment. Okay, we were one of the first grants. So Opportunities has always had the mission of placing people in the community. So, when we get really offended by hearing that, well, you people don't place people out in the community. Well, Betty would beg to differ because we're working her budgets right now. And she has a very large staff that just work with people in the community. But I think part of what we struggle with when we see a lot of this information coming out, they forget to state, which Pat did not in this article, that we do community employment. And we do a very large amount of it. And we work with 220 kids out of the school systems last year, and none of them came into center-based employment. Okay, so but the people that want it one way only talk about all the people in shelter workshop. Well, that's not true. We served 2,600 people last year at Opportunities. 300 of those were in center-based employment. Okay, so and I think Thomas said throw the baby out with the bathwater. So that means Billy can't work because they don't think that him making whatever he makes per hour, he shouldn't be making unless he's making minimum wage. Billy shouldn't be able to work. Well, I beg to differ. If Billy was my son, I might feel very differently, and I do. I watch Billy work. I watch Jennifer work. I watch Andy work. I talk to them. So who are we to say, well, I'm sorry, you didn't work fast enough today, so you can't have a job. But when we go out to an employer, that's what we deal with every day. Okay? Barb, I'll hire anybody who wants me, but they need to be able to make the rate. Okay? I mean, those are things that we have to deal with. They don't have to deal with that here at Opportunities.
And I also wonder if the complaints about some minimum wage are coming from the consumers themselves, or if they're coming from a hierarchy, from a theoretical viewpoint somewhere. Is there this preponderance of complaint from us, the consumers, about these sub-minimum wages? I don't think so.
I think, and I think in looking back at how this all, bubbled up, is, I think it's similar to what we talk about with family care. There's a certain, there are some negativities associated with family care, and we all focus on that. And then we're looking at the bigger picture here. What happened with the center-based employment was that there were individuals who were, quite frankly, getting taken advantage of across the country, and which led to groups to really scrutinize and look at that piece and really hone in on that. And same thing with the sub-minimum wage. There were maybe a few individuals, licenses who complained about it, which then triggered a much larger discussion of what we need to look at the application process and that. And that's,
I think no matter what business or organization you're in, there's going to be bad apples in anything.
Absolutely.
You cannot, make a generalization. Say, well, because there's a few bad apples here, we do away with a certain system or a certain way of doing business.
Right. But you got to remember, we're advocates, so we're all going to, go after everything.